Greetings. We continue our study of the book of Revelation today. We'll be considering the opening of the sixth seal from Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? We've mentioned that the opening of the first seal dealt with executive authority. The white horse and its rider with the bow but no arrows being given a victor's crown is the result of heaven's authority being given to one on earth who shall confirm the covenant, the peace treaty with many, not all, for 1 week of years, that is 7 years. Before this can happen, the Antichrist will need to be vested with more than merely executive authority. He will also need the military authority from verses 3 and 4, represented by the red horse and its rider. He will further need to be vested with economic authority in chapter 6, verses 5 and 6, represented by the black horse and its rider. The Antichrist will also need to be vested with judicial authority, Revelation 6, 7, and 8, the pale green horse and its rider. Then we looked at the fifth seal, which will add martyr authority to the Antichrist list of granted authorities as described in Revelation 6, 9 through 11. And we noted there was no horse nor rider associated with this fifth seal. So now we're ready to consider the sixth seal, which is the bestowal of what I'm going to call atmospheric and astronomic authority. Atmospheric and astronomic authority. Let's look at the action in heaven in verses 12 through 14. And I saw when he opened the sixth particular seal, and a great earthquake it became, and the sun it became black, just as hairy sackcloth, and the moon it became just as blood, and the stars of the heaven they fell down unto the earth, just as a fig tree being shaken by agency of a great wind, it is casting her particular late or ripened fruit. In heaven it was torn apart, just as being a rolled up scroll. Also every mountain and every island they moved out of their particular places. And again we must ask, who is the rightful heir to this atmospheric and astronomic authority granted in this sixth seal? And the answer from chapter 5 is the worthy one, the slain lamb, the creator or redeemer of all things. Yet though this authority has always belonged to the heavenly throne, a more directly demonstrative role is now assumed versus a somewhat passive or indirect role or preservation as previously taken. This idea is addressed in the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, verses 1 through 18. Scoffers who walk after their own lusts respond to the preaching of the gospel according to 2 Peter 3:2 with the question, where is the promise of his coming? Verse 3 continues, For since the fathers fell asleep, since our forefathers died, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. Now, this stated position by the scoffers is based upon willful ignorance ignorance of the facts concerning God's creation, its preservation by God, and the reconciliation of the universe to God as it's described in Colossians chapter 1, verses 16 and 17. The Mother Nature syndrome denies the role of the Father in his Christ in creation, preservation, and reconciliation of the universe to God, active or passive. God has and is demonstrating his control in relation to the changes that have and are going to take place in the universe. The world that then was, Peter calls it in 2 Peter 3:6, the original creation, was marred by Satan's rebellion and then restored by God. Yet it still bears the marks of that cataclysm. Further, the judgment of God in the days of Noah is specifically in view in Peter's reference to the world that then was. The earth still bears the marks of that cataclysm also. Then Peter speaks of the world that now is, the post-flood world, which is being preserved by God. God promised to never allow a universal flood of the earth by water again. But he has also promised that it has a universal appointment with fire in 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 7 and 10. Finally, Peter speaks of the world which is to come, which refers to the new heaven and the new earth in 2 Peter 3:13, yet to be brought about in the concluding chapters of the book of Revelation. Then let's look at the effect upon the earth in Revelation chapter 6, verses 15 through 17. And the kings of the earth, and the magistrates, and the military leaders, and the wealthy ones, and the mighty ones, and every servant, and every free man, they hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and they're saying to the mountains and to the rocks, you all fall down upon us, and you all hide us away from the face, the presence of the one sitting himself upon the throne, and away from the wrath of the Lamb. Because the great particular day of his particular wrath, it came. And who is he, being able himself to be stood, that is, having withstood God's wrath? So the giving of the atmospheric and economic authority to the Antichrist and his false prophet is stated here, but is not used until Revelation chapter 13, verses 12 through 15. Remember, the authoritative power is from heaven, and the dynamic power to use it as an imitation of God's power is from Satan. So what we will be witnessing will be a cause and an effect.